Biogas. Biogas refers to a mixture of different gases produced by the breakdown of many organic matter in the absence of oxygen. Biogas can be produced from regionally available raw materials such as recycled waste. It is a renewable energy source. Biogas is produced by anaerobic digestion with anaerobic bacteria or fermentation of biodegradable materials such as manure, sewage, municipal waste, green waste, plant material and crops. Let's check into its history. The idea that rotting vegetable matter gives off a flammable gas has been understood since the ancient Persians. In modern times, the first sewage plant was built in Bombay in 1859, an idea that was brought to the UK in 1895 when the gas produced was used to light street lamps. The use of farm manure to generate methane was developed again in Bombay in the 1930s. It was only developed for use by Indian villagers by Khadi and Villages Industry Commission in the early 1960s. Similarly, China started a program in the 1960s and claimed that 5 million plants had been built by the early 1980s. The design was based on a septic tank. Biogas composition. The methane makes 50 to 75% of the biogas composition and followed by carbon dioxide, that is between 25 to 15%, nitrogen 0 to 10%, hydrogen 1 to 5%, oxygen 0.1 to 2%, water vapor between 0 to 10%, hydrogen sulfide 10 to 30,000 parts per million and ammonia in the range of 0.01 to 2.5 milligram per meter cubed. Now let's see the typical biogas yield depending upon the feedstock used. When mixed food waste was used, it's between 75 to 200 meter cube per ton. Cattle slurry, it's between 15 and 25, and same with the pig slurry. And where it is poultry litter, it's between 30 and 100, and grass silage, it's 160 to between 160 and 200. And if it is maize silage, it's between 200 and 220, and if it's maize grain, it's 560. And when crude glycerin is used, it's between 580 and 1000 meter cube per ton. And the highest was seen when fats were used. It can range up to 1200. So what's biogas plant? Biogas plant is an airtight container that facilitates the fermentation of material under anaerobic condition. Anaerobic digestion of organic matter produces a mixture of methane and carbon dioxide gas. The material which is used in biogas plant for producing biogas are called biomass. Animal dung, poultry waste, plant waste, human excreta, industrial waste and domestic waste are the various forms of biomass that can be used along with water in the biogas plant. Operational parameters of a biogas plant. The first factor is temperature. Methane forming bacteria works best in temperature range between 35 to 38 degrees Celsius. The gas production decreases sharply below 20 degrees Celsius and it almost stops at 10 degrees Celsius. Solid to moisture ratio in the biomass. If water content is too high, the mean slurry temperature and gas production drops. And if water content is too low, acids accumulate and hinder fermentation process. Next one is the pH value. During methane forming stage, pH value is maintained between 6.5 to 7.5. Carbon to nitrogen ratio. The optimum carbon to nitrogen ratio is 30:1 for maximum microbiological activity. The total solid content in the material is 18 to 20% and the diameter to depth ratio is 0.66:1. Uniform feeding of the biomass should be provided. Mixing or stirring or agitation of the content of the digester is required. Let's see the types of biogas plants. The first one is the fixed dome type of biogas plant and the second one is the floating gas holder type of biogas plant. The image shows a fixed dome and floating dome biogas plant. Now let's see in detail about the fixed dome type of biogas plant. The raw material used are animal dung, poultry waste, plant waste, human excreta, industrial waste like sawdust, waste from food processing industries, domestic waste like vegetable peels, waste food materials. It can be used along with water. In the fixed dome type, the biogas is produced as a result of anaerobic fermentation of biomass in the presence of water. The construction of fixed dome type biogas plant consists of major 5 sections that include the mixing tank that is present above the ground level and the inlet chamber in which the mixing tank opens underground into a sloping inlet chamber. And then there is a digester, and there is an outlet chamber, and there is an overflow tank. The fixed dome type biogas plant is a brick and cement structure. It consists of a mixing tank that is present above the ground level, and the mixing tank opens underground into a sloping inlet chamber. The inlet chamber opens from below into the digester, which is a huge tank with a dome-like ceiling. The ceiling of the digester has an outlet with a valve for the supply of biogas. And then the digester opens from below into an outlet chamber, and the outlet chamber opens from the top into a small overflow tank. You can see the mixing tank, inlet chamber, digester, outlet chamber and the overflow tank here. Now let's see the working of the fixed dome type biogas plant. The various forms of biomass are mixed with an equal quantity of water in the mixing tank. This forms the slurry, and the slurry is fed into the digester through the inlet chamber. When the digester is partially filled with the slurry, the introduction of slurry is stopped and the plant is left unused for about 2 months. During these 2 months, anaerobic bacteria present in the slurry decomposes or ferments the biomass in the presence of water. As a result of anaerobic fermentation, biogas is formed which starts collecting in the dome of the digester. As more and more biogas start collecting, the pressure exerted by the biogas forces the spent slurry into the outlet chamber. From the outlet chamber, the spent slurry overflows into the overflow tank. The spent slurry is manually removed from the overflow tank and used as manure for plants. The gas valve connected to a system of pipelines is opened when a supply of biogas is required. To obtain a continuous supply of biogas, a functioning plant can be fed continuously with the prepared slurry. Advantages of fixed dome type biogas plant. It requires only locally and easily available materials for construction. It's inexpensive and it is easy to construct. The second one is a floating dome type biogas plant. You can see the image here. This also consists of a mixing tank, inlet pipe, digester tank, inlet tank, and there is a partition wall in between, and there is an outlet pipe, overflow tank, the gas holder and the gas control wall. Now let's see its construction in detail. In floating gas holder type also, the biogas is produced as a result of anaerobic fermentation of biomass in the presence of water. Construction of the floating gas holder type. It consists of a mixing tank that is present above the ground level, the digester tank, which is a deep underground well-like structure that is divided into 2 chambers by a partition wall in between. Beside that, it has 2 long cement pipes. The first one is the inlet pipe that is opening into the inlet chamber for introduction of slurry, and the second one is the outlet pipe opening into the overflow tank for removal of spent slurry. And then there is a gas holder, which is an inverted steel drum resting above the digester. The drum can move up and down, and they can float over the digester. The gas holder has an outlet at the top which could be connected to gas stoves. And then there is an overflow tank present above the ground level. Now let's see the working of the floating type. In this, the slurry, which is a mixture of equal quantities of biomass and water, is prepared in the mixing tank. The prepared slurry is fed into the inlet chamber of the digester through the inlet pipe. The plant is left unused for about 2 months and introduction of more slurry is stopped. During this period, anaerobic fermentation of biomass takes place in the presence of water and produces biogas in the digester. Biogas being lighter rises up and starts collecting in the gas holder. The gas holder now starts moving up. The gas holder cannot rise up beyond a certain level. As more and more gas starts collecting, more pressure begins to be exerted on the slurry. And then the spent slurry is now forced into the outlet chamber from the top of the inlet chamber. When the outlet chamber gets filled with the spent slurry, the excess is forced out through the outlet pipe into the overflow tank, and this is later used as a manure for plants. The gas valve of the gas outlet is opened to get a supply of biogas. Once the production of biogas begins, a continuous supply of gas can be ensured by regular removal of spent slurry and introduction of fresh slurry. So you can see the working is almost similar to the fixer type. The floating drum plants consist of an underground digester and a moving gas holder, and the gas holder floats either directly on the fermentation slurry or in a water jacket of its own. The gas is collected in the gas drum, which rises or moves down according to the amount of gas stored. Some of the disadvantages of the floating gas holder type biogas plant is that it's expensive. The steel drum that is used may rust, and it requires regular maintenance. We have already discussed about the fixer type and the floating drum type biogas plant. So there are different types of floating drum plants. That includes the KVIC model with a cylindrical digester. It is the oldest and most widespread floating drum biogas plant from India. Then there is Prakriti model. Then there is Ganesh model made of angular steel and plastic foil. Then there is floating drum plant made of prefabricated reinforced concrete compound units. Then the floating drum plant made of fiberglass reinforced polyester. Then there is low-cost floating drum plants made of plastic water containers or fiberglass drums. Then there is a Boda model. The Boda plant combines the static advantages of hemispherical digester with the process stability of the floating drum and the longer lifespan of the water jacket plant. Beside the fixer type and the floating drum type, there are also other types of biogas plant like the low-cost polyethylene tube digester. It consists of a tubular polyethylene film bent at each end around a 6-inch PVC drain pipe and is wound with rubber scrap of recycled tire tubes. The next one is a balloon plant. A balloon plant consists of a heat-sealed plastic or rubber bag combining digester and gas holder. The gas is stored in the upper part of the balloon. The inlet and outlet are attached directly to the skin of the balloon. Advantages of balloon plant include standardized prefabrication at low cost, low construction sophistication, ease of transportation, uncomplicated cleaning, and easy emptying and maintenance. The disadvantages include low gas pressure that may require gas pumps, and the scum cannot be removed during operation. The plastic balloon has a relatively short useful lifespan. The other kind is the earth pit plants. It has low cost of installation and high potential for self-help approaches. Its disadvantages include it is having a short useful life, and the earth pit plants can only be recommended for installation in impermeable soil located above the groundwater table. Next one is the ferro cement plant. Here the vessel is usually cylindrical and the plants are very small. Its disadvantages include substantial consumption of essentially good quality cement. Workmanship must meet high quality standards. It uses substantial amount of expensive wire mesh, and special sealing measures for the gas holder are necessary. Then the biogas plants are operated based on batch and continuous type. In the batch plants are filled and then emptied completely after a fixed retention time. Each design and each fermentation material is suitable for batch filling, but batch plants require high labor input. As a major disadvantage, their gas output is not steady. Another one is a continuous plant. In continuous plants, it's fed and emptied continuously. They empty automatically through the overflow when new material is filled in. Therefore, the substrate must be fluid and homogeneous. Continuous plants are suitable for rural households as the necessary work fits well in the daily routine. Gas production is constant and higher than in batch plants. Today, nearly all biogas plants are operating on a continuous mode. And there is also a semi-batch type biogas plant. If straw and dung are to be digested together, a biogas plant can be operated on a semi-batch basis. The slowly digested straw type material is fed in about twice a year as a batch load, and the dung is added and removed regularly in a continuous manner. Biogas produced from the anaerobic digestion process is collected and stored to manage fluctuation in the production and consumption rate. Biogas can be stored in the digestion tank in headspace or in a separate storage vessel at low pressure. Once upgraded to biomethane, the gas is pressurized for use. Biogas can be used to produce electricity, heat, and for cooking purpose. Biogas can be burned directly. However, impurities can cause maintenance issues. Without removal, hydrogen sulfide and water can cause maintenance issues such as corrosion and affect its efficiency. Can be used in boilers in place of fossil fuels. When upgraded to biomethane, it can be used as a natural gas substitute. It can be injected into a gas network for heating and cooking. It can be also used as a transport fuel. So biogas, when upgraded to biomethane, can be used as a transport fuel and for gas injection. And when they are removed of the impurities, it can be used in gas turbine, internal combustion engine, boiler and steam turbine, in fuel cells, thereby generating electricity and heat. Depending on the intended use of the biogas, it may be cleaned or upgraded. It's organic, water and CO2 can be removed, and the hydrogen sulfide can be reduced to 5 parts per million. The techniques used for this include biological desulfurization, oxidation, physical absorption, water scrubbing, chemical absorption, pressure swing absorption, and membrane separation. Now let's see few of the advantages and disadvantages of biogas. It's an eco-friendly and production of biogas by biogas plant provide employment, and it produces organic fertilizer that can be used in agriculture purposes. It is simple and low-cost technology, and it reduces greenhouse effect. Coming to the disadvantages, it is not attractive in large scale and there is only few technological advancement. It may contain impurities if not treated, and it is not suitable for dense metropolitan population. Biogas can be utilized for cooking, lighting, operating small engines and for pumping water, and the size of biogas plant depends upon the size of family and the purpose for which biogas is utilized. Also, let's see few of the advantages of biogas as a fuel. It has high calorific value, it's a clean fuel, no residue is produced and no smoke is produced, it's non-polluting. It's economical. It can be supplied through pipelines. It burns readily and has a convenient ignition temperature. Few of the advantages of the biogas plants. It reduces burden on forest and fossil fuels. It produces a clean fuel and helps in controlling air pollution. It provides nutrient-rich manure for plants. It controls water pollution by decomposing sewage, animal dung and human excreta. Few of the limitations of biogas plant is that its initial cost of installation of the plant is high and the number of cattle owned by an average family of farmers is inadequate to feed a biogas plant. Now let's see its potential environmental benefits. It reduces reliance on fossil fuels. It diverts waste from landfill. It reduces greenhouse gas emissions. Provides a valuable fertilizer or soil improver. Reduces reliance on chemical fertilizers and associated production emissions. It can reduce odor intensity of waste. It reduces pathogens and reduces weed seeds. It is also having a negative impact on the environment if not properly managed. The first one is the odor. The feedstocks can cause odorous emissions and this can be managed through an odor management plan and suitable control and abatement techniques, for example, inside storage. Next one is the water emissions. Runoff from waste stored outside. Site must be bunted to prevent leaks in the event of tank failures. Next one is the emission of bioaerosols from the storage areas. Then air emissions from burning biogas. Next one is the proximity to sensitive receptors and the potential litter if waste is contaminated. So, solid waste management is a process of removal of solid waste in such a manner that it does not cause any problem to environment and the living organism as well. It is done through different methods as per the category of the solid waste. We have already discussed about a number of methods like landfills, encapsulation, incineration, anaerobic digestion, composting, vermicomposting, methanogenesis and the production of biogas from the solid waste. The fundamental objective of waste processing is to reduce the amount of waste through recycling and disposal of waste in a way not to impair environmental conservation. The 4 R's should be followed for waste management, that is refuse, reuse, recycle and reduce. The management of the solid waste is done according to its nature, like the management of medical solid waste, management of non-degradable solid waste, management of hazardous waste, management of non-hazardous and biodegradable waste, management of electronic waste. The hospital waste is generated during the diagnosis, treatment or immunization of human beings or animals or in research activities. These include both non-hazardous waste and hazardous waste, and the treatment options for these kinds of waste are by incineration and sanitary landfill. The examples of non-degradable solid waste include steel, aluminium, iron, glass, plastic, textiles, and the treatment options for these kinds of waste are recycling, sanitary landfill, incineration. And the management for hazardous waste include processes like physical separation, gravity separation, dissolved air flotation, solvent extraction, sorption on activated carbon, and their treatment options include thermal treatment, which is incineration, and other biological treatment can also be applied for these. And for the management of non-hazardous and biodegradable solid waste, we can use the open tubs, landfills, anaerobic digestion, composting, vermicomposting methods. And the next major concern is the management of the electronic waste or the e-waste. It is having toxicity and carcinogenicity because of the substances it releases if processed improperly. The toxic substances in electronic waste include lead, mercury and cadmium. Carcinogenic substances in electronic waste may include polychlorinated biphenyls or PCBs. A typical computer may contain more than 6% lead by weight. Capacitors, transformers, PVC insulated wires of polychlorinated biphenyls. You can see that the constituents like lead, cadmium, mercury that is released from the e-waste is having a significant damage to the human health, affecting its blood system, kidney damage, central nervous system, and their accumulation in kidney and liver, asthmatic bronchitis. So proper management of the e-waste is highly recommended and necessary. Since e-waste consists of diverse items like ferrous and non-ferrous metals, glass, plastics, electronic components and other items, the potential treatment options based on this composition are encapsulation, incineration, and the sanitary landfill. Also, reusing the electronic waste in a creative and innovative way is also a good idea. You can see a stool that is formed from a whole lot of electronic junk. There are certain factors that affect the management of solid waste, and it includes per capita income and status, climate and percentage moisture, systematic growth of city, status of the municipality, and the available resources.